Hello, good day everyone. This is Majid and today I am with the new video which is the part 3 of AWS DevOps project, and today we are going to discuss more things. And if you remember, previously in part 2 of the series we worked on the EC2 creation, which is here, and it's already running. It's already in the running state. Sorry, this is the AMIs. These are the this is the EC2 instance that we installed, and it's working perfectly here. You can see. And then we created an AMI from this EC2, if you remember, and the AMI is here, and is already available and it's working fine. Also, if you remember, we worked on the launch templates. This And the launch template is basically a template to create more EC2 instances from AMIs, and then we say in the launch template what kind of EC2 we want, or what will be the resources of that EC2, for example CPU power and other things, and what will be the security group. So basically a launch template is a template how to create the EC2, right, out of an AMI. An AMI is basically a template of that EC2, what will be included in that EC2, for example what kind of software you have installed on that EC2, and such things. Yeah. And now if you look at the the architecture we have done, let's copy and paste this tick mark a few times here, and we have done the EC2 part, which is kind of manual for now. We have also copy and paste it a bit more. We have created a launch template, and then we also created uh, uh, what we call an AMI uh, from the EC2. And now things are getting more ticked, more green ticked. Now what we will do is we will talk about the load balancer, and how the load balancer actually triggers auto scaling group, right? But this is a bit of there is a kind of interconnectivity between a load balancer, auto scaling group, launch template, and the usage of AMI. So let's jump in. Before we go into creating the load balancer, we need to work on the auto scaling group, right? No, sorry. And before we work on the on the auto scaling group, we need to work on the load balancer first, because the load balancer will be needed in the auto scaling group when we want to create it. And the load balancer is the load balancer creation process is here under load balancing and load balancers on the same EC2 dashboard. Now what do we want to create the load balancer for? We want to create the load balancer for our current EC2, which is here, right? We have only one EC2 which is still like manually mad EC2, and we still want to have a load balancer for it. So let's create a load balancer. There are many types of load balancers here. We will mainly focus on the application load balancer here. So let's just create it. Create. We will call it AWS DevOps Project ALB, Application Load Balancer. We will call it internet facing, right? Because this will be where the public traffic will come on from the internet, right? And then going forward, we will use IP address IP version 4. The VPC will be the one that is currently now default, and the mappings will be in each. This means that um, to which zones have this load balancer will access. So we will say all three, because these are the zones available in Ireland. Yes, and then we will go further, and security groups. Which security group? So this is the default security group um, for uh, for this load balancer, but we will create a new one. and we will call this security group AWS DevOps Project ALB security group, right? And we will give the description here as well. And you are seeing that why am I doing this? Because I want everything to be specific as possible. I don't want to use the default things because in future we will get confused. So I'm creating specifically security group for ALB, security group for EC2 and everything where it's possible. I will give rules, the inbound rules for this security group. So by default, I want to allow HTTP traffic to this ALB, uh, this load balancer, IP version 4 from everywhere. Then I am also allowing HTTPS because in future videos I'll be uh, attaching a domain and SSL certificate with this load balancer, and then pass the traffic to the EC2 instances. So let's choose HTTPS here, 443 IP version 4 and from everywhere. I think that's it for this security group. For ALB, create security group. Security group is created. Now we will select this security group in the load balancer where we are creating the load balancer. Let's refresh it. That load balancer and that security group will be here. Selected, unselect default. Now this says that what ports do you want to listen on. So currently I don't have any SSL certificate or any domain, so I will be listening on port 80. Now which target group I want to listen to? We don't have any target groups, if you remember. We haven't created a target group. A target group is basically a group of resources. So let's create the target group as well. We will go to target groups, and what will comprise this target group of. So the instances, the EC2 instances, come here, name it AWS DevOps Project TG, target group, right? And this target group will basically listen on to port 80. We will uh, let's go. What port our instances are using? We will call it 8008. Let's 8008. This is the port that this target group will be listening on, and the IP address will be IP version 4. The VPC will be this one, default one. Protocol HTTP 1 is okay. Health check protocol, it will be HTTP, that is fine. Advanced health checks, let's override this with our current port. We will be defaulting to port 80 in future, but for now, because our EC2 is listening on port 8008, let's do override that port here, 8008. Come down and tag options, etc. No. Let's create the uh, now it says, now during creation of target groups it says register target, so I am registering that target and the port is 8008. That is correct. Include as pending. See, include as pending. The instance that I want to register in this target group is coming here in pending, and now I will create target group. So now if I am on the target group, AWS DevOps project target group, I can see the targets here, and this is unused, which means that this target group or this instance is registered in this target group, but it's unused for now. Unused where? Because the target groups are used in the ALB, we haven't used this target group in the application load balancer yet. So for time being, it's saying health status unused. In future, when we uh, um, when we uh, uh, when we mark this target group in the load balancer, it will be health status will be healthy. So let's do that. So our target groups, we have created this target group now on port 8008. It's HTTP, and if you go to the target group, we have this EC2 which we registered and it's unused, you can register more targets here. But this is manual process, and we don't want to manually register targets here. We want to use auto scaling group to register targets in the target group, which we will do in forthcoming minutes, right? So for now, we are in the process of creation a load balancer, and we have done a lot of things here already. Let's choose the target group which we want to use in this ALB. So let's refresh this, and this is the target group that we want to use on this listener. Okay, so let's go load balancer tags, leave it, WAF, leave it, etc., etc. Go ahead and create load balancer. So this load balancer is in the provisioning state, and if you go to the listeners, so these are the listeners. Listeners are actually to which the traffic comes, right? So the public, let's just skip these two parts, SSL and Cloudflare. Now the public traffic will be coming directly to the ALB here, right? And the ALB will then forward the traffic to its listener, and the listener is listening on which port? See here, it's listening on port 80. When the traffic comes on port 80, this listener will forward that traffic to the EC2 instance. For currently now we only have one EC2 which we manually created, right? And that EC2 is listening on port 8000, but that EC2 is a part of target groups, right? The target group which we created here in here, that target group is having this EC2, and this target group is also listening on port 8000, and this traffic is then passed to the EC2 instance. So it's a kind of a seamless project. The traffic comes here to the ALB, then to the listener, then from the listener it goes to the EC2 instance via the target group, and the target group and the EC2 ports are same, so 8008, right? So that's what it means here in the load balancers, in the load balancer section. And here we have the listener and rules. So port 80, and then forward to target group this one, and the target group has port 8008 open, and the 8008 port traffic is forwarded to the EC2. So currently this ALB is in the provisioning state, which is not yet completed. Let's refresh it. I will pause the video and come again when the load balancer has provisioned and is in active state. So I am unpausing the video, and you can see that the load balancer is active now. Now how do we pass through this load balancer and reach our EC2? So if you closely look here in the detail section, it says a DNS name, and DNS name is basically a domain kind of thing, you know. You can copy this domain and now come here to new tab and paste here, and this is basically a domain kind of thing, not is you know, is pretty much a complicated of a domain name. Yeah, so let's click on it, and there you go. See, this is the node app that we are hosting here. Let's remove this product section here. So directly when we go through the IP 8008 port, this this app is browsed here. But if we go through, you know, a load balancer via the DNS name of the load balancer, we can access it here as well. But the strange thing is that you have noticed that we are not giving it the port number here. And that is because, if you understood correctly, the load balancer is listening on port 80, and port 80 is by default like this. It's always there, the port 80, right? So it's just like it's ignored by the browser. A domain name has always a port 80 bind to it, you know, but it's not shown by the browser here. And then the load balancer forwards the traffic to the target group, and the target group here is listening on port 8000, and that 8000 is bind to the EC2 port 8000, and that's why you are not seeing that port in the browser anymore. We are just cleaning the URL here, right? So that's like that, you know. It's magic. So yeah, so we have created a load balancer, we have created a target group, and then we are then we are, forwarding the traffic to the EC2 instance. Now, how should I, uh, you know, uh, mm, how can I forbid the access to the instance directly on the IP? That's easy. You can come to the security groups, and if you remember the security group we used for EC2 instance, it was this one, EC2 SG. You can click on this. Then you can come on the SSH, on the inbound rules. We have SSH, HTTP, and custom TCP, right? So we want to do like this. Let's edit inbound rules, and if you see here 0.0.0.0 means the traffic from anywhere, right? And it's open to 8000 from anywhere. We will do like this. Let's delete this. Let's delete the port 80 as well. Leave the SSH. Add a new rule and say custom TCP port 8008 and access from anywhere. No, sorry, anywhere custom. Use the custom and only allow it from the ALB, this one. Remember this security group. Allow traffic only from coming through the application load balancer security group. If we do this, right, now if we save the rules and save this security group, we have already saved it. Now come to the EC2 instance directly and refresh it. It will just be loading. See, it will not be accessible. That means that we are not allowing traffic from public directly to the EC2. We will be passing through the ALB, to the listener, and then to the EC2, because this ALB has its own security group, right? And that is controlling the traffic from public, and then this EC2 has its own security group, and that security group has been now changed, and we said that port 8000 will only be accessible to the security group of this ALB, right? So that's why it's not accessible anymore. See, it's broken now. But if you go to the go through the let me go to the load balancer, copy this URL and paste it here. See, this is the domain. Let's refresh that. It will still be working. See, it worked. And this is a more secure way. We are not exposing our EC2 instances directly to the traffic through IP. We are passing it through the ALB, and that's how we will control the load here on the AWS ALB. When the traffic comes here to the ALB, it will be the traffic will be here, and it will then be distributed to the EC2 or the EC2s in future. For now, it's just EC2, only single one. So that's a bit of discussion about ALB. Let's copy and paste it and just bring it here. We have our our ALB now. Copy and paste it here as well. We have our own listener now, and we have also uh, a domain for ALB, right? So I think that's enough for this video. I don't want to confuse you guys. There are a lot of moving parts here, but I hope you have understood. The process is we create a target group, then attach that target group in this ALB, right? Application load balancer when we create it, and in the target group we have registered our EC2, which is kind of a manual process up till now. It's not, there is no automation right now, and we will see automation in future. But for time being, you need to understand that we have to create a target group, this one, and then register our target in that target group. Remember the ports. These ports can confuse you, and it can take you a lot of time, So you need to come on the reverse order. You need to create first your EC2, host your application there, and then install all your software there. Then configure a security group on a specific port where your application is running, on which port. Then come to the target group, create a target group, and register your your EC2s on that target group, and be very vigilant about the ports, because this can break your mind, what's happening there. For the first time users, I have been through this, so be careful with the ports. And then when you create the target group, then come to the load balancer and create a load balancer, and remember this video that application load balancer listens on a port. So currently it's port 80, and then it passes that traffic to the target group, and that target group we have already created, and that target group listens on port 8000, and that port 8000 traffic is passed to the targets, the actual targets, which are the EC2, and that EC2 which we created is also listening on port 8000, right? And then in the last, as I mentioned, we have modified our security group to listen to port 8000 only from that security group of ALB, and not anything or anyone else from the internet. So that's it. We will work on the auto scaling group in the next video. For time being, that's enough. I will see you in part 4 of the web series in near future. Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.